Well, good afternoon, guys. We're back with an impromptu briefing or breaking news, or whatever you want to call it. CCV and CFC, they seem to go together very, very well, and it looks as if they'll be together for at least a couple of years more, at least on paper. My name is Ryan McGinley. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Anthony Haggerty, Haggerty10 on the X handle, the Ryan McGinley on the X handle for myself. Tony, 5.5 years. Cameron Carter-Vickers has extended his deal. It's been mooted for a couple of weeks now, but it's official. It's now out in the open. How are you feeling?
Hurrah! Hurrah! And thrice hurrah! Some good news on the January window transfer front. I think every Celtic supporter will be delighted with that, won't they? He was kind of the last of the main assets, the jigsaw, as they say. And I was saying to you off air, just prior to us coming on, I'm actually thinking that is this Brendan getting his ducks in a row in terms of getting the prize assets to stay for as long as he's here? You'd like to think so. But again, you could look at it another way, that is this all just kind of smokescreen to sort of cover up the fact that there isn't any more incomings coming in before the window ends? That's a negative, I guess. But what I will say is that's a fairly positive bit of news for Celtic, that Cameron Carter-Vickers' 5.5 year deal. He's found a home at Celtic. He's been nomadic. He's been down south. He's tried various other clubs. I've said before, Ryan, that you cannot underestimate personal happiness. And you spoke to me as well, and you're about to say that probably now a wage commensurate with what he probably thinks he's worth, and what the club thinks he's worth, and what the supporters think he's worth. Yeah,
I think that's something very, very important to touch upon. But I'm just going to read out what Cameron Carter-Vickers said as he signed this new deal. This was quotes that were given to CelticFC.com. He says he's really delighted to sign this new contract with Celtic. He's loved everything about the club from day one, and he's so pleased to have been part of some real successful times across the last few years. You always play the game to win, and being part of some great winning moments with Celtic has been really big for me, a real honour. I've had a great welcome and support from the Celtic fans ever since I came here. We all know the love and passion our fans have for the club. There is nothing better than playing at a packed Celtic Park, and I'm delighted to be playing my football here. I've really enjoyed working with the manager, the staff, and great teammates, and we'll be doing everything we can to bring our fans more and more success over the next few years. And Brendan Rodgers went on to say, this is great news for all that Cameron has extended his contract with the club. He's been an absolute rock for us since he joined the club and has played to such a high standard so regularly, week in, week out. He's been such a pillar of strength in our defence and a real leader in the team. I know he's held in such high regard too by his teammates. His qualities as a player, his personality and his absolute commitment to the game make him a real joy to work with. I know Cam loves the club and the city and really has made Celtic his home, and we are delighted to have him here with us. There has been a lot of talk about the interest in him from elsewhere, but all he has done is get on with his football, decides where he wants to be, and we are delighted that he sees his future at Celtic. Very much a ringing endorsement from both the player and the manager. Seems like a very, very happy camp, and it's another player that is signed on long term to work under Brendan Rodgers. Kyogo, Cal McGregor, Daiza Maeda, Rio Hitati, Matt O'Reilly, Cameron Carter-Vickers. They've all signed up to new long-term deals. They've all bought in, and now everybody seems to be pulling in the same direction.
My hope is that long-termism bears fruit, and that in the summer you don't see the breakup of this team then, Ryan. I'm hoping that by doing these actions, that I'm saying that these conversations have been had by Brendan Rodgers saying, look, stay with me. Let's build something here for the next couple of years anyway. You'd like to think so. But I'll focus on the positive about it. There's still a bit about me, wondering if that's the end of kind of business transactions in terms of incomings in the 5 days that are left in the window. That still rankles with me, but I think it's a wonderful piece of business from Celtic. You've got to protect your assets, haven't you? Protect what you have, sign them up. So he was the last piece of that. The kind of big hitter jigsaw, if you want to call it that. And I'm happy about that. And happy that in the glowing praise that he spoke about the club and the manager and also the supporters. And, there are a few better places to play your football, Ryan. in European football. You know, everybody slags the standard of the league, and I get all that, but when Celtic are competing in the Champions League, there are a few better places to play, and you just want them to be a slightly more competitive team in that arena. And there's a big carrot at the end of this season going into a new revamped competition, and lots of players will want to be part of that. And I think being part of that with Celtic, if they can win the title again, is a big box office draw. It's clearly a big box office draw for Cameron Carter-Vickers, and he loves it. And I did like Brendan, the fact that he loves the city as well. He knows the city, so yeah, it's one of the ones, isn't it? But yeah, he
knows the city. He owns the city.
Yeah.
When he plays, Celtic win more often than not. So,
and you can pick out a lot of performances from Cameron Carter-Vickers because he's just been a steady 8, 9, sometimes 10 player, hasn't he? That performance at Hampden before he was going under the knife, just
for the ages, that performance
epitomises everything that was brilliant about him. And a guy who didn't want to get beat that day and gave his all, laid it on the line for his teammates and his team. And yeah, I think everybody would pick that out. And other cracking moments as well, goal at Tynecastle, stuff like that. Just a tower of strength, and all those cliches that he had. But he has been a rock at the back of the pack, and he's been safe as houses since coming. I've always said that when you look at a Celtic defence, Cameron Carter-Vickers there, that's your comfort blanket, isn't it? It's a safety blanket. When he's not there, he's missed. We noticed when he was missed at the tail end of last season. He shipped a few goals at Easter Road and places like that. So, so it's something that causes you great comfort whenever you see a Celtic team line up and Cameron Carter-Vickers there. And the thought of him being here for another 5.5 years, or however many years it is, I think it's put a smile back in your face today, certainly. So it's a wonderful boost. And that last piece of the jigsaw, and I just hope that that's the kind of conversations that are being had right now, Ryan, that they want to be with this manager for as long as he's here.
Yeah, a lot of people in the comments are saying that, a contract, what is a contract worth? It's not even worth the paper it's on nowadays. I think it's a security for the player and a security for the team as well, that he will be, if he is to leave the club in the near or distant future, it's going to be for a lot of money. He's contracted now until 2029. It's 2024 just now, 5.5 years. He'll still be on a 5-year deal when it comes to this summer if the vultures start swirling. So he's completely, he's settled, he's happy, he's getting into the first team, he's a stalwart in the team when he's fit. This is good news. I don't want any negatives on this whatsoever, because when you think about the summertime, if you were to pick one player that you would have thought maybe might have moved on, I don't think many people would have picked Starfelt, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people would have said Carter-Vickers out of those two. So for Starfelt to leave was a surprise. And now Carter-Vickers to sign on for another 5.5 years, regardless if he stays or not, is great news. For me, and I got a bit of stick when I said this online, but I will stand by it. I will double down. Don't back down, double down, as Limmy says. He's the best defender I've ever seen at Celtic since I've started watching him and going to the games, which would have been watching the games since about 2005, 2006. I remember Henrik Larsson before then, but that was in and out. I was in and out of the football at that point. Ever since I've started going in 2009, and I'll include Van Dijk in this because he's a better fit for Celtic. I know Van Dijk went on to amazing things at Liverpool. I think he's the standout defender for me in all the time that I've watched Celtic. An absolute colossus, and I'm delighted that he's staying for a bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, that's all very subjective, that argument, but I can understand you being the age that you are, why he would be your top defender. So someone like myself, he's certainly up there alongside the likes of Mark Reaper for me, Paul Elliott, Van Dijk, Denier, guys like that, you know what I mean? So, yeah, and Reaper, I loved Reaper, I've always said, and Elliott, those players as well, I thought they were wonderful defenders, but, people going far back will talk about John Clark and Billy McNeil from the 60s, My old man says John Clark was a wonderful defender, made Billy McNeil the player that he was. Billy was a great leader. John Clark was a wonderful defender. So I'll take their word for that. So, but yeah, I can understand why someone like yourself would say that. I think that's the esteem that he's held in. That he came in and he's filled a position, and people just, Celtic supporters that currently can't envisage the team without him. You know, they don't want to envisage the team without him. So that's why today's news has been trumpeted and heralded, because he really is a vital cog in that green and white machine, that defensive machine. And as I say, he's as safe as houses. And I can't recall, I mean, I know he will have had a poor game. I genuinely can't recall really looking...
One hand, probably one hand, having a poor games.
Less than one hand, you know. There's a turn
2 fingers.
Yeah, turn around and say, you know, he was to blame. You know, lots of people speak about the Lazio mistake and all that. You know, that was
coming back after a few months injured.
Yeah, that was unfortunate more than anything else. But I can't really remember when I turned around and I thought, big man, you sold the jerseys here, or it's your fault, or it's, you know, I don't think I've ever said that about Cameron Carter-Vickers. You know, and you know, you make a mistake as a defender, you let a goalkeeper. Most times it can lead to goals. He's got a terrific record against Rangers, hasn't he? As well.
It does.
And so so I think that's testament to his ability to come in. And I go back to it, that as someone who's come in as a kind of, who'd led a nomadic football existence, and you were looking at it and thinking, he's had 6 clubs and he's not been able, on loan, he's not really been able to settle anywhere. You know, what makes us think he'll settle here? Settle here he did. And we're all thankful for it. He got back in the American international squad as well. So I think he's looked at it and thought, this is a wonderful situation. It's a win-win situation for him. You know, back in the international fold. He's doing well at Celtic. That demand to win, you don't get that at a lot of clubs. And that's what I'm talking about. It's not so much playing in Scotland. It's that demand that's placed on you to win at all costs and to win at all times, and those habits that players pick up if and when they do go elsewhere that stand them in good stead. But some people like to be tested. You know, you have to peak and peak and peak against Celtic. You know, you win a game at Celtic and it's like, big deal. Got to go and win again. 3 days later, 4 days later, a week later. Doesn't matter. It's the next game. You know, you just keep thinking the next game, the next game, the next game. Why a lot of players say the next game's the most important one. Ross County's the most important game. That kind of stuff. And it's having that mentality to cope with that constant demand and testing yourself. Because it's no easy. You ask any of the players that came up from down south and have tried their luck in Scottish football. That's why the likes of Chris Sutton speak highly of it. You know, you can belittle the product all you want and belittle the league, but I still think that we punch well above our weight in terms of a league. And I would never belittle the product or belittle Scottish football, because I love Scottish football. It's not really been tainted by outside money per se, like real outside money, multi-millions, that kind of stuff. And I think it's, you know, it's an honest product. I've said this before. You know, it's honest. It might be raw and it might lack skill and technique of various other leagues that you want to compare it to. But I love it. I don't really watch a lot of other football because Celtic are my team. And, you know, I'll watch it if it's on, if it's fine, big game, that kind of stuff. But I'm not emotionally invested in it. And I still maintain that Scottish football gets a raw deal television-wise, but it gets a raw deal with its perception, because I think it's a lot better than lots of people would actually admit.
Yeah. Sorry in advance if you can hear my dog outside. I think she's quite happy with the news as well. But CarterVickers signing on to a new deal. Yeah, absolutely. She's voicing her opinion. Yeah, I just want to talk about some of the stats as well from the player. 101 appearances for Celtic, you know, ever since that deadline day move from Tottenham to Celtic on an initial loan deal. He made his deal permanent the next summer, signing, I think it was a 4-year deal. It was Jota that signed the 5-year deal, I remember, and CCV signed the 4-year deal. Remember when they announced it, I think it was the Celtic Twitter account put the CV, the CCV. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. And there was a buzz about that. There was just as much a buzz about that as there was about Jota, to be honest, because he was transformational in the transformational in the defence just as much as Jota was
Yeah.
in the attacking side. He's been an absolute rock. Yes, he has been injured for large parts of this season. Celtic have had to play 2 Glasgow derbies without him. They still managed to get 6 points. You know, the next one is at Ibrox, so he's definitely a player that you would want in the trenches for the next game, especially going to Ibrox. Could be a potential season decider or league decider. So to have a mammoth like Cameron Carter-Vickers in that defence is only a good thing. What was the moment for you, Tony, when you realised that Cameron Carter-Vickers was going to be a real star at Celtic? I remember his debut against Ross County where he scored that deflected goal that looked over the goalkeeper into the back of the net. For me personally, I'll just give my opinion quickly. I think it was the Ibrox game, the first Ibrox game, the 2-1 game that he scored in. But it wasn't just the attacking performance in which he scored what turned out to be the winner on the day, but it was his defensive performance alongside Carl Starfelt. They stood up and were counted for in a team that were known for their attacking prowess. Defensively for that second half, they withstood everything that Giovanni Van Bronckhorst Rangers side threw at them at that moment, and it was massive in the turning around of the season, you would say.
That game was pivotal for 2 things. I mentioned it earlier this morning. Callum McGregor's run, which led to equaliser when he refused to accept defeat, and also Cameron Carter-Vickers' performance that day. As you say, not only did he score the winner, but he repelled everything that Rangers could throw at them after that initial, was it 3 minutes or something, when they went a goal down, never put a foot wrong after that. Yeah, so
Aaron Ramsey scored.
Yeah, Aaron Ramsey, yeah. And that was kind of the day it cemented for me. And also the fact that the way he took his goal, because that wasn't easy. Ball just dropped in.
Some of those goals I remember in my head. It was quite stuffy, but it was accurate as well.
He buried it. Mm-hmm. Right? He did. And you think to yourself, big man, that's not a bad touch for a big guy. And, just sweeping it home and, discuss your options later. Put it in the net and we'll discuss what you do with it later, the type thing, And I remember old man used to say to me as a young kid, you get a chance, that ball drops, it has to go. And that's exactly what came into my head. The ball dropped, it had to go, he knew it, and he swept it in. And I was really happy with him that day because I thought, you don't want to say too much, but you're thinking, he's a colossus in the making. I just thought he stood up, and he just got puffed the chest out, Ryan. Been a while since somebody went to Ibrox and puffed the chest out and went, none shall pass, type thing. And by the way, I'm no slouch when it comes to burying a loose ball up the other end. So I really loved that. So yeah, that was the day for me. And also his goal against Hibs as well, Easter Road, from the volley from the corner. Mm-hmm. Quite like something. I thought you could be a menace at set pieces. So
that was a great performance that day.
Yeah, that was another great
especially
performance.
In the first half.
The Hampden one takes care of itself, but he's had so many. I just think he's fluctuated between an 8 and 9, and in the occasional, maybe you think he's fluctuating between 9 and 10. I laugh when we used to do the player ratings. Christendom, Cameron Carter-Vickers 8 or 9, didn't we? Because you were just like, it's automatic, bang, 8 or 9, and then you had to explain your reasons why. And most of the time it was just because of his calmness and his influence that he had, and the fact that it didn't really matter who was up against him. He just shrugged them off at times and made it look very, very easy.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with everything that you've said. There's been so many standout moments for Cameron Carter-Vickers, and he's had quite a few defensive partners. Liam Scales is the one this season. Looks like it'll be Mike Nawrowski tomorrow. It's Carl Starfelt too. Stephen Welsh has been there alongside. He's a constant, and he'll continue to be a constant in that back line. If it's very clear and very obvious that if Cameron Carter-Vickers is fit, he plays in that team. He's like Callum McGregor. He's like Matt O'Reilly when they're fit. He's like Kyogo when he's fit. When he is available, he'll be playing in that team. He is a certainty. He's the wall at the back. He's a goal threat. He's a good defensive player. He's clearly a good influence off the pitch. He's a very popular member of the dressing room, it seems. I can only see positives with this deal. There is only positives to talk about. People can maybe talk about the timing, the fact that, is this in place of a permanent signing somewhere else? you've just got to call a spade, and it's a great signing. He's Celtic's best defender. He's the best defender in Scotland by some distance, I would add, and he's staying in Scottish football.
Yeah.
That's a coup for Scottish football as much as it is for Celtic. One of the best defenders in the league is choosing to stay for another couple of years at least. I think that's a positive.
Yeah, it's a great re-signing. Lots of people in the comments are knocking Scottish football. Well, if it was so poor, then these guys would tell you they're in a hurry to leave. Yet they always tell you that they're happy, they're playing at a good club and enjoying themselves. So I go with what they're saying. That's not to say that they won't leave. We're all realists at the end of the day, but they're not in a hurry to check out Scottish football. So listen, the easiest thing here is to sit here and knock the standard of Scottish football. I can knock it all day. It's my job. I could do that, no problem at all. Tell you I've just witnessed the worst game I've ever seen, yada, yada, yada. But I'm the eternal dreamer, an optimist, and I'm a realist too. But there's always something for me when I watch football that makes me think, yeah, glad I watched that today, or glad I saw that, or I can pick out the beauty in it. And you do watch your fair amount of, dross, if you want to call it, for want of a better word. But you ask any footballer who's come from down south or who's come from a foreign country to play in Scotland, you don't slaughter the standard of Scottish football. They really enjoy it. So don't take it from me, take it from them. And they're happy when they're playing in it. And like everything else, economics dictates and progress dictates that they will, if they are the real deal, they will go on to shine in bigger and better leagues. I'm fully aware of that. But there is not a footballer that comes from somewhere outside of our shores that does not enjoy their spell and their time in the league. So it can't be that poor.
Yeah.
So and there's a man who wants to commit himself for another 5.5 years. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it is. It's wonderful news for Celtic, and you do protect what you have, and I'm glad about that. But I still like to see. I think in order to make it a decent window, would I like to see a left back and a striker come in? Yeah, but I don't want them to panic and just do it for the sake of it. I'd want it to be thought out. And if it has taken all this time and they manage to get something over the line in the next 5 days, then so be it. But, I think you have to applaud them in the sense that they've got another vital piece of the jigsaw sewn up. And, I'm happy to have them here.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring this comment up. Stephen says, we're seriously having an emergency podcast because one of our players has signed a new contract. Not just any player. I think he's Celtic's best defensive player in years. And I think you've got to acknowledge and recognise these good stories when they happen. It's all too easy to moan about Celtic, in my opinion. It's very, very easy to, and I do it myself. I'm not entirely innocent with that, but you've got to call a spade here. And it's a good story. Cameron Carter-Vickers has signed a 5.5 year deal extension. I just want to go on and talk about that point that you made at the start. Now, Cameron Carter-Vickers, he will be on a wage akin to Cal McGregor, akin to Kyogo, akin to Matt O'Reilly and Rio Hatate as well, and Maeda too. He will now be one of the highest earners at the club. He might even be the same alongside Callum McGregor. That might be his importance to the team. I think that's completely deserved. He plays like a captain out there for Celtic. I'm looking forward to hearing his ovation when he comes onto the pitch, when the announcer announces his name. I think there'll be a big, loud cheer when his name gets called out. If the announcer's smart, he'll probably say fresh off his new contract just to get the crowd going a wee bit more. But yeah, it seems as if it's gone full circle because he made his debut against Ross County, scored that deflected goal, and now he'll be playing tomorrow, his first game after signing that new deal. Another deflected goal would be great just to make it completely full circle, or just a screamer from anywhere. Or if it doesn't matter how he scores, if he could score a goal to celebrate his new deal, then I'd be absolutely delighted with that.
I think if you've got the nucleus and the hub of your team and they're all in the same ballpark wages-wise and there's no real disparity, then you've got a happy dressing room, haven't you? I think players these days know their own worth, right? Some have an inflated sense of their own worth. Let's say that, and but most people who are vital cogs in the machine know their worth, don't they? So I'm all for there being equality in wages, or certainly not a massive disparity. I think that can create harmony, but it can also create disharmony in a dressing room. So, that those players that you mentioned, if they're all in the same ballpark wages wise, then great. But I think, and I think it's how you can keep players happy and motivate them. They all want to be handsomely rewarded for what they do, and if they know there are others in the team who are more handsomely rewarded than them, and their nose is out of joint, then it's no good. It's no good for camaraderie. It's no good for team spirit. But I don't see that in that Celtic dressing room. I think there's a lot of harmony there and has been for a long time. These guys got on well, and I don't think. And I say this in the sense that money's not their cause for playing for the club, because they do get handsomely rewarded. I've also said before, they don't play for nothing. I think they genuinely are in it to be successful and win trophies, and as a group, as a collective. And I think that's a powerful thing, and I think they do it for all the right reasons. They do it for the supporters as well, because the adulation they get, they realise once you leave Celtic, you're not getting that anywhere else. They're not getting it anywhere else. You might be well liked and respected and loved by supporters if you go elsewhere, but you ain't getting the adulation, the hero worship that you get at Celtic. So yeah, and again, the money that they get is, it's decent. So that's why I
think CarterVickers' money will be quite decent.
Yeah, so you speculate between 35 and 40 grand a week. I think that's what Hamish said he thought McGregor was on.
I think he'll be on similar 30, 35
a
week
now. You'd like, but you know what? I don't have a problem with that.
Nah,
I really don't.
Every penny.
I think guys like that deserve it, So, and I think for committing yourself for that length of contract as well, and saying that you're happy, they deserve it for that alone. The whole kind of loyalty thing as well, and making Celtic your home, your spiritual football home. Considering when you go, sorry.
It's also a vote of confidence from the club to the player, because he has been injured a couple of times. He was injured last season. He's been injured a couple of times this season with different things. So it's a show of faith from the club as well. It's given him a security blanket as well. Yes, Carter-Vickers is a security blanket and the Celtic team. It also covers him as well. I just would not be surprised, and this is a hot take, I'd not be surprised if Cameron Carter-Vickers is happy with his lot and this is him for the next few years if he does see out that contract. He's 26 years old. He's much like Kyogo. He's getting to that Kyogo age now. He's in the prime of his career. If he would have really wanted to move, then I think he would have made moves last season or potentially this summer. But that new deal, it means it has to be a mental deal in order for him to leave the club. He's happy with where he is, and it would not surprise me. Maybe it's just me just happy in the moment. Would not surprise me if he stays for another few years and tries to get up to 200, 300 appearances. In an ideal world, that would be the case. But, he's happy, he's settled, and thank goodness he's going to be there for the next few years.
The manager said every player's got his price. They clearly have at Celtic. Right? Get that. We understand that. We work on that premise. But when someone signs a 5.5-year deal and tells you that they're happy, then I'm taking them at face value on that one. I'm taking it that he's happy. I think there was a story just before he signed the deal saying there was interest from Middle East, wasn't it, from an unknown club? Qatar, yeah. So, so that's he's clearly weighed it up, and then wherever the source of that information came from, they actually said he was going to sign a deal that was going to be announced at the weekend. So I don't know if Celtic read that themselves and thought, well, we may as well announce it because it's kind of out there in the public domain now. So it came from an American-based journalist source, wasn't it? So
yeah, who's spot on. I think he's close.
Larry, who's usually
Carter-Vickers,
spot on and banging the money with these things. So, again, if he's in a hurry to leave, he wouldn't have signed a deal, and he would have waited till the summer to see if there was any interest, and then declared his hand and said, I'd like to speak to that club about that particular interest. If Celtic are going to get the commensurate value for for what they thought the player was worth. So, I'm happy. And, the manager was kind of hinting yesterday about stuff that, maybe going on behind the scenes that we're not privy to. That was clearly something that he was talking about. He knows what the club needs and knows what knows what he's going to address moving forward. So, again, trying to read between the lines and see what's happening in that. I'm hopeful, like you say, Ryan, that he does stick around for another few years and maybe the manager's convinced him. Everybody's saying that, and we said it ourselves, that we think Matt O'Reilly could be for the off. Who's to say that he won't stay for another year? And
he's contracted now, so...
Yeah, I know he's contracted, but Brendan Rodgers said to him, look, give me what you've got while I'm here. Stay with me, because what's Matt O'Reilly, 22?
Matt O'Reilly, 23, I think he's just turned 23.
Atletico Madrid today, it'll be someone else tomorrow, won't it? I'm projecting a year down the line. So, and listen, Mark Money's saying that he'll probably be leaving in the summer, but stranger things have happened. That's when I get back to our elite level manager, who could maybe convince all of these prize assets to stay for another tilt at the newly revamped Champions League trophy on the proviso that Celtic win the league.
Yeah, Matt O'Reilly might go with Ange to Liverpool in the summer. I don't know. No, I'm only joking. I'm joking, guys. Before anybody takes that seriously, but yeah, he'll definitely be one of the names. Who do you think will be next? I think it's always important once you've talked about a contractual sign. Who do you think will be next to sign a contract with Celtic? Do you think it'll be Liam Scales? There was talk yesterday. He was asked about it, and he says he's not heard anything. He's going to continue playing his football, and he'll let his agent do the
kind of jab with what Brendan Rodgers was saying again, wasn't it? That kind of forked tongue nature of it all. Brendan Rodgers said he thought that Celtic were entering into talks about a new deal, didn't he? Mm-hmm. And then Liam Scales says,
maybe their attention might go to that now that
possibly,
they've started.
And I'm not saying I don't believe the manager. I trust the manager implicitly, so I do take what he says. That okay, I say right. I trust you, Brendan. I don't think you would lie to us. Don't think it's in his nature. But when a player's coming out and saying, actually, no, then you say, okay, and maybe Brendan's spoken out of turn because it's maybe in the pipeline. He's maybe the player's not just been informed of that, and maybe discussions have taken place with some people. So, but yeah, I would like that to happen, but I don't want to go gung-ho in terms of Scales and say like he's morphed into Beckenbauer overnight, that kind of thing. He's having a wonderful season. He's having a right purple patch. But there are times when I look at Liam Scales and I think, okay, you got away with that there. A couple of times against Bucky Thistle, we actually get away with things, so, and I think that there's still that he's prone to lapses of concentration, which at a higher level and a higher calibre of player, he'll get found out a wee bit. But I have to say he's vastly improved. And from that Ibrox game when he was pitched in, he's been terrific. But I want it to continue the whole of the season. I don't want it to peter out now and, some mistakes or whatever creep into his game. I just want him to continue to build on that, that high bar that he's set for himself. And, so is he worth a new deal? Of course he's worth a new deal, but let's not get carried away and go overboard about the likes of Liam Scales. He's a very, very good defender. He's certainly proven his worth at the minute in the Celtic team. But I would just hang fire and over the top praise about Liam Scales. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, would agree with that completely. That's us been going for 34 minutes. Is there anything else you want to talk about regarding Carter-Vickers? I can see that Celtic are posting stuff on their Twitter account just now with pictures of him and the new hoops. Obviously, well, not the new hoops. I've been playing in it for half a season, but holding up his shirt. Good to see that. Love to see that. Is there anything else you want to mention before we finish off today?
No, I just think it's a wonderful deal. I think everybody's been waiting for some kind of happy news in the January window, haven't they? But again, you go back to
Friday feeling.
You've got a decent Friday feel. You have to take that for what it's worth. Lots of people looking at the bigger picture in terms of incomings as well. But protect what you have. I'm all for that. So they've protected another prize asset, and I think it's a shrewd piece of business from Celtic today.
Yeah, delighted with it. Before we finish off, guys, just need to do a couple of shout outs. Please subscribe to the Celtic Way website, £4 for 4 months or £18 for a year. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. There's some quotes from Cameron Carter-Vickers already on the website. If you just click on the news section, you'll be able to get that. Please subscribe to the YouTube account. We've been on live twice today. You'll get the morning briefing. It's maybe a wee bit outdated now, considering the fact that Cameron Carter-Vickers has got a new deal, but that's still there available to watch. Under 100 subscribers away from 9,000. Please get involved. By subscribing, you get entry into the comment section as well, and you can join in the live chat, and we endeavour to bring up as many comments as we can. We haven't been able to as much today because we've been talking about Carter-Vickers, but we will endeavour to do so, especially in the pre-match and post-match shows tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow with those pre- and post-match shows against Ross County. Hopefully another win for Celtic. Thank you once again to MPH Group. All their links are in the description if you're looking for plumbing, heating, kitchens or bathroom work, and they are also working alongside Navien Boilers. So please check them both out. Thank you very much, Tony, for joining me in this impromptu Celtic emergency briefing.
Good news for once, emanating from Celtic in January. Yes, yeah. Shocker, but there you go. We'll take it. Go on, CCV. Nice one.
CCV, CFC. There probably is a supporters club now as well. CCV, CFC. I've absolutely butchered that. That's terrible.
For you to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Cameron Carter-Vickers, 5.5-year deal extension. He's here till 2029. Yep, that's right. Nightmare of a last minute there. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. We'll be back for the pre-match show tomorrow afternoon. And enjoy your weekend. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.